If you fall, make sure you get up on your own. Don't wait for someone else to come help. Because the world is hard, son, but you're tougher. Jungkook's father, when the child was only 12 years old, that phrase was never heard on a television screen. It was never posted on BTS's official profile. It never appeared on Weverse or Instagram. But today, for the first time, it was that sentence that Jungkook opened in front of thousands of people with teary eyes and choked voice, while attending one of the most emotional interviews of his life. Not only because he expressed it amid the frenzy of public attention towards his comeback, not only because it came out of the mouth of the golden magne who had been looking tough and invincible, but because those words were the heart of who he was today. And in less than an hour after the interview aired, cries filled the social media comment space. Armies from around the world clasped their phones with quivering fingers, watching Jungkook's hitherto hidden side, fragile, human, and deeply in love with his father. The hashtag #Yukapanaya Jungkook immediately became a trending topic in 56 countries. This is no longer just a story of idols and fans. This is already a story that shakes the emotions of the world. Who would have thought that all this time, behind the glitter of the stage, behind the millions of album sales and the mass hysteria that followed his every little move, Jungkook kept one simple sentence from his father as the foundation of his entire life? Who would have thought that Jungkook's motivation, strength, even strong character, which the world adores, came from a father's quiet conversation with his son in a corner of a modest house in Busan? Even more surprising, and this has never been reported before, is that Jungkook doesn't just remember those words. It lives in it. He made it sound like a spell. He shaped his whole life, his personality, his way of dealing with the cruel pressures of the music industry, all rooted in that one sentence. And now, when we all watch Jungkook sitting in the interview chair with reddened eyes, we no longer see Jungkook the superstar. We see Jungkook, a boy who grew up with love, assertiveness, and one simple principle that shaped him into a figure loved by millions. But the question now resonates louder than ever. What is really going on behind Jungkook's confession? Why did he dare to reveal it now? What has he been hiding from the world? And why did the army actually cry so much after knowing the true meaning behind the sentence? Let's turn page after page of this untold story. A story that might even change the way we view idols, family, and what power really means. Long before becoming a name admired by the world, Jungkook was a shy little boy. Busan, a bustling and rough port city, is not an easy place for a sensitive child. But Jungkook's father John Hyun-soo is a figure who understands his son's character more than anyone else. It does not raise Jungkook with an iron fist, but also does not allow him to dissolve in tenderness. According to some of Jungkook's old teachers, who did not want to be named, the father often came to school not to scold the teacher, but to listen. What is Jungkook's strength? What scares him? What keeps him quiet? He always said, "I want to know who my son really is, not who he is on the grade paper," said one of his kindergarten teachers, and that's where it all started. Jungkook was crying because he failed to make the list of child singers in one of the small auditions in Busan. As his friends laughed at him, Jungkook went home in silence. That night, the father sat beside his bed and said, "If you fall, make sure you get up yourself. Don't wait for someone else to come help. Because the world is hard, son, but you're tougher." And the speech is not just words. It is the compass of life that Jungkook continues to embrace even as the world treats him as if he were not human. So far, the public has only seen Jungkook's kink. When performing at concerts, he jumps, sings, and dances as if his body were made of steel. But few know that behind the stage, he often shut himself up to just be alone in silence. Big Hit Entertainment staff were even panicked because Jungkook disappeared for more than 2 hours after a big concert in New York in 2018. When found, Jungkook sat under an empty stage, hugging his knees. Not crying, just shut up. And when asked by the manager at the time, his answer shook. "I only remember my father's words. The world is hard, but I have to be harder. So I shut up. Make it stronger." That's what makes thousands of fans cry when they know that their idols are actually saving wounds, pressures, and burdens borne alone. He never showed his sadness openly because he felt he had to be a role model. But his father's words were the reason he stood. And now, after years of keeping it to himself, Jungkook has finally shared the deepest part of his soul with the world. Not because you want to be pitied, but because you feel that the time has come. The interview took place in a small studio in Seoul. The format is intimate, without many lights. Just one chair, one camera, and one microphone. Jungkook sat in casual clothes, his face without makeup, and his voice was quiet. In that 1 hour, he told me everything about his childhood, about how he almost gave up in 2014 when he felt like he wasn't worth it, about the pressure to always be perfect, about his fear of failure. And then he paused, took a deep breath, and for the first time said, "I survived because of my father's words. That's all. I'm not superhuman. I'm not a special creature. I'm just the son of a man who told me the world is hard, but I can be harder." And it was at that moment that tears fell, not just from Jungkook, but from the entire staff in the room, including production crews who aren't even K-pop fans. The army watching could not resist. They watched Jungkook not as a star, but as a human trying to survive on one small provision from his father. And in the comments that flooded social media, one thing became abundantly clear: this is not just another Jungkook story. It's the story of everyone who has ever fallen and had to stand up for themselves. Even more heartwarming and only revealed in the interview is that Jungkook's father actually wrote a long letter to his son when Jungkook debuted with BTS. The letter was never made public, but a snippet of its contents was read to Jungkook for the first time. "Jungkook, you are the light. The world will try to extinguish you, will criticize you, will bend you. But don't forget, you were born from love, from hard work, from the blood of your father and mother. If they hurt you, don't retaliate. Just get up, higher." And there, the army could not resist. They cry, not because it's sad, but it was Haru who exploded. Because all this time, Jungkook is not just an idol singer. It is a symbol of the strength of a simple but loving family. The remark, which to some may just sound like an ordinary motivational phrase, turned out to have a much deeper meaning for Jungkook. In a life full of endless highlights, demands, and expectations, the father's speech is no longer just a motivation. It was the only route on which Jungkook could stand. It is life, breath. It may even be his last bastion when it all feels too much to bear. In the interview, Jungkook admitted that during his darkest times, when media pressure rained down on BTS due to various internal issues, when he was plagued by unfounded rumors, when he had to deal with physical injuries in the middle of a world tour, even when his friends in the group began to falter and the public began to wonder if they would break up, what he always held tight in his mind was not album sales figures or the number of fans who came to concerts, but one sentence: his father, which he constantly repeats like a prayer, like a personal spell. He repeated it in silence, while locking himself in the toilet of the plane to a concert in Brazil. He whispered softly to himself behind the Wembley stage, shortly before performing for tens of thousands of spectators. He muttered it in the language of the heart, when his eyes turned red in a hotel room after knowing netizens slandered him about his romantic relationships with female celebrities. That